your vaccine status. That doesn't make sense. But let me ask you, you said that lots of people are awakening. There is a lots of messages because pandemic, it seems, is just a part of whole story. There is other thing what is happening behind, and we have to know what was the purpose of this pandemic, of vaccines and of other things that we are facing today in the world.
What is the overall intention of why they would do this? Is that the question?
That's right.
Okay. Well, if you want to go there, ultimately, it's about control. So there's always been an agenda to centralize all power. And so I used to hear this back in the day. People would talk about the New World Order and all these things. And I thought, oh, this just sounds crazy. But as it turns out, it wasn't so crazy. It is crazy. It's evil, but it's happening. There is an effort by people that we can best brand them as globalists. What does that mean? Well, a globalist wants control of the globe, and they pose as environmentalists or whatever, the Bill Gates of the world, right? These people are all globalists. They're not okay with just having a few $100 billion and living their life out and enjoying their life, and with a lot of power maybe in their own country. They want to make sure that they control trade, food supply, all resources, and they want to be able to have their way in the world. But the problem is when you have outliers, and COVID exposed a lot of outliers, right? So there were a lot of countries that didn't play the game. And now we're able to look at them as a case study and say, wow, Sweden, wow, Africa, wow, it's interesting. You know, only 3% of your population is vaccinated, yet you guys are healthier and you didn't crash your economy. You didn't play the game. And it turns out you were, right about that. And so they don't want outliers. And so they can't have their way in your country or in my country if other countries don't play the same game, because then our countries will always look there and say, we should do it like that. I don't get it. And so they have to be able to centralize everything. So one world government, one world banking, which we pretty much already have, one world digital currency, all these things that then suddenly now all the countries have to comply, or they'll turn off their money and they'll turn off the food supply, whatever it might be. And so those are the archetype of people that are behind this. There's other darker forces that are probably lean more into satanic cults, really, that they operate, they're real, and they have a lot of power. And that happens too, but let's just stay with what I know to be accurate. And so these globalists, these are the people who meet at the World Economic Forum. Notice they're always, United Nations, which is the headquarters of the globalist agenda. The property was supplied by the Rothschilds that the United Nations original headquarters was on. It's all part of the same plan. And so you bring in all these nations together. It sounds like a unity movement, a wonderful thing. Everyone gets behind. Celebrities come out and speak about it. But what it really is we want to get rid of any leadership that isn't with us. And so they do regime changes, which is what we've done in Syria and all over the place, regime changes. And so we don't like this leader. African leaders, there's 3 or 4 African leaders who spoke out during COVID, and they all died suspiciously. Interesting. And so you get these people, and then you have crooked people, typically within Britain or United States, that will then insert who we want to lead that country. What it typically is somebody who's already part of their cabal. And now we have all countries aligned, so whatever we want to do to control the masses and all the trade and all the money and the flow of the slaves, we now have all the leaders in the powerful positions so that we can coordinate the next plan, and there's no outliers now. There's no one to do it that will have the power to do anything differently, that we can look to them as a case study. And so that's and then on top of that, there is, and I heard this years ago, and it was another one of those things that I just wrote off as a crazy conspiracy theory, but it turns out to be accurate. There are the heart of this cabal, and even the dark ones that I mentioned a moment ago, they want to decrease the population. And this is not a theory. They've written about it. It's in their manuals. It's in their books. They talk about it's etched in the Georgia Guidestones and different areas that actually talk about what this plan is. They have actually codified it into stone. And it always talks about an ideal number of somewhere around the whole world population, somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 million. And you think, Well, that's billions of people gone. How's that going to happen? Well, the problem is we have the internet. We're able to communicate with each other now, to educate each other now. We have automation coming, and so now all the worker bees, all the slaves doing the grunt labor, they're not really needed anymore. All the grocery stores are self checkout, and so as Yuval Harari, who is the science advisor of the World Economic Forum, said when they were talking about AI and automation taking over, he said, "What are we going to do with all these useless people? That's the big question." And he said he said, "Well, I guess maybe more pharmaceuticals and more video games." And so said that with a kind of in a joking way, but that's how they actually think. But it's beyond that now is like, okay, well, now you got them entertained, which some people, there's old theory people can look up called bread and circus. It's like, just give the people a little bit of bread and a little bit of entertainment and they'll be fine. That's what he's saying. Give them bread and circus. But what happens when those people now are, in their terms, leeching off of the system? We are now just consuming the food, the water, polluting the air. We're not useful anymore. What do we do with these people? There are collectives of very dark people who do not care about humanity such that they want us to stop procreating. And this is why a lot of these medicines, what Bill Gates has done all over the world, has always resulted in sterilization and paralyzation. Why is that? Well, people are paralyzed. They're unable to do anything, to fight back. And they're sterilized. They're unable to procreate. And so this agenda has been going on for decades, for a couple of generations now. And we're now just seeing it reach that eruption part. And it's wonderful to see. Pandemic 2, we had a whole section about eugenics. If you don't know what eugenics is, look it up. We had a whole section about eugenics, but I said, I don't think people are ready to hear this. And we cut it out. And I said, because I know the media is going to obsess on that, and it's going to seem like one of those really far-fetched conspiracy theories. And here we are now, 4 years later, and everyone's talking about eugenics. They're understanding that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was involved in eugenics, and all these people, Bill Gates' father. Eugenics is basically like, we are the elite. We come from elite bloodlines. We need to, in the same way that dog breeders look for the perfect dogs to match, so they have these pedigreed dogs. These people believe in that. They believe all these other people are low class, low IQ. We need to have this pristine bloodline, and everyone else should be weeded out.